Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. Today I'm joined by Cory Malveaux from Edina Realty in Minnesota. And Cory's dug into a lot of custom GPTs. So we're going to unpack how he's realizing productivity gains using AI. So welcome to Real Estate AI Flash, Cory.
Hey man, I appreciate the invite. I'm honored.
You are one of my first guests, by the way, that's got the whole setup. And it seems like you host your own podcast as well, which is true.
Tell you what, I do have my own podcast, and
That's
I
right.
know
And
how
I'm
it
sure we'll
feels.
talk about it as well. So, so I'd love for the audience listening, since it's primarily real estate agents that focus in on how to leverage AI to grow their career and their business, to get to know you a little bit. So how did you get into real estate?
So I used to work at a company called Ford Motor Company. So I was on the assembly line, and this is 2000. I was there for almost 10 years. I started when I was 19. 2007, I showed up to work. There's a bunch of helicopters and news choppers and everything there, and we're all being kind of herded like cattle in single file into a room because they have a big announcement, and they're letting us know that they're going to be laying us off and closing the plant. So the plant was there for over 100 years. And a lot of the people that worked there, they didn't have college degrees. Some of them didn't even have like high school diplomas or anything. And they were being told that they were going to lose their job, which most of those employees are getting paid, between $60,000 and $85,000 a year. So it was really scary for some people. And the first thing I thought of was like, what can I do that's like really quick? And I did have a business degree, so I was like, what can I do that's really quick that I can get some sort of certification or something like that, and I can get into something else. And so I was always watching like Flip This House and Flip That House and all these other, TV shows. And I was like, real estate's kind of cool. I think that that's how a lot of people get into it. They think it's more glamorous than it actually is. And so I went and got my real estate license and did real estate for 5 years while also working at the plant. Because even though they announced they were closing, it took them about 5 years to close it. So I was able to build a business while I was working, day shift at a manufacturing facility. And then when they closed the doors, I was able to get into real estate full time.
Nice. So you started part-time, built up a book of business, and you
Yep.
knew the doors were shut down at Ford, and you became full-time in the business.
Absolutely. And it was one of those things where they said they were closing, and it was like they gave us like a year. And then when that year was up, they extended it a year. And when that was year up, they just kept on extending it. But it ended up working out for me because I was able to not only go back to school and get a better degree in business, but I was also able to build this real estate business on top of that. So
Nice, nice. And you've been in real estate, what, 14 years?
17 years. 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can be called officially like an experienced professional.
I kind of almost feel experienced now, but not, everything is brand new every time you run into a new thing.
There you go.
I don't know if you're ever done learning in this business.
Yeah, no, you never are. And that takes us right into the topic of AI. I mean, we're still learning all of this stuff. It's moving at such an exponential pace, right? And most of us are used to learning at like a linear pace,
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people, you're never caught up with AI, so don't worry about it. Nobody's caught up. You got to get started somewhere. And I'm interested in hearing, when was your first introduction to AI? Mine was like Thanksgiving 2022, when a friend of mine said, Rajiv, you got to check this out. And I dug in. I'm like a tech geek at heart. So I dug in and I haven't dug out, So
I think it's probably around the same time for me, like right when they came out with that GPT 3.5.
yeah,
I was like blown away by it. And it's so funny because the first couple months that it existed, I looked like a genius because no one even really knew about it. You know what I mean? So like if I had to write a letter to anybody, I was using that, and people are like, wow, Cory's like really good at writing. You know what I mean? And I was, of course, you don't use the raw response you get from ChatGPT, but you modify a few things and you send it off, and it's awesome. And so I got started really early with it, and I wouldn't say I probably delved into it as deep as you have, Rajiv, because you're very, very, very dug in here. But I've used it quite a bit here throughout that last year and a half, 2 years it's existed.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I enjoy about doing the podcast weekly, Cory, is to talk to people like yourself, and I talk to agents all over the country, and I get the best of that, and hopefully make our show more valuable week in and week out. And I'd love to get in a little bit with you. And you obviously dug in early enough. And what are you starting to find AI help you with in your business? Let's kind of get into some of the specific things you're doing with AI on a weekly basis.
Well, I heard you say something once, and you said, and I'm probably going to misquote you, but you said something like, like automate the, what'd you say? Automate the
Automate the ordinary so you can personalize the
The
extraordinary.
extraordinary, there you go.
There you
Automate
go.
the ordinary so you can personalize the extraordinary. And I will say that, I've that's basically the joy of AI is it's made life way easier for not just real estate agents, but anybody, right? In terms of automating what's, the daily tasks.
Yeah.
So for me, as a real estate agent, I think common things that agents use it for, I think all of us use it for listing descriptions, creating video content is another big one. I use it a lot of times to structure certain newsletters or something that I'm writing. Like a lot of times I won't have it write for me, but I'll ask for a template. So I'll have it create a template and then I can kind of fill in the way that I want it to work. I've had it create presentations for me. And again, in ChatGPT, I haven't really plugged in like, any sort of plugin to where it will actually create slides, but I'll have it create like slide one, have it say this, slide two, have it say this. And I'll give you the title and I'll give you the body of what the slide should be about. And then I take it from there and I'll bring it into Canva and I'll make it look pretty and I'll change around the wording and, make it make sense. So I use it for things like that. Um, I've also used it for creating real estate content. So specifically like stories and reels and things like that. Um, I've used it for creating YouTube videos, right? In terms of just, you just saying AI. I mean, CapCut has some really ridiculous AI features. I don't know if you've delved into CapCut.
Oh yeah,
CapCut.
definitely. For sure.
So I have some videos about that on YouTube with just like background removal tools and captions and things like that. I use the Captions app, for captions and for all the cool things that
Captions
they
is
do with
awesome, man.
AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Captions is ridiculous. I've done so many trainings on captions and it's kind of funny because all this stuff costs like a couple dollars a month. And so like a lot of people don't just want to delve into everything. So I've kind of taken it upon myself just to get like these subscriptions, try it out. If I don't like it, I cut it. If I like it, I keep it. You know what I mean? So that way everyone else doesn't have to keep on spending money on some of this stuff. Cause I think at some point it's all going to kind of mold into one. Like I think we just mentioned CapCut and captions. They're basically becoming the same application like over time. Captions started out with just captions and CapCut started out as just video editing. And now they basically both have full on desktop video editing platforms associated with them.
We did an episode around AI is your affordable leverage. Like if you think about it, if I was a brand new agent, Cory, right, and I embrace AI, and you get ChatGPT for a subscription, captions, maybe Opus Clip if you do a lot of video to clip them into short form videos.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get to that topic a little bit in terms of what tools are your go-to tools and what kind of time it has saved you potentially, or even money. In some cases, you had to pay a virtual assistant to kind of do this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And you were talking to me about doing Instagram reel stuff. So talk to me about your daily, weekly usage, go-to stuff that you're doing with ChatGPT.
So Instagram Reels is kind of like it's an ongoing joke in our industry that we wanted to be real estate agents, but now we have to be content creators. And there's a lot of different things you can do inside of content. One of the things that I'll do is I'll create, a bunch of stuff in Canva, so I might create like 10 different like pieces of content for Canva and I'll use AI. So I'll go into the AI, just go into Docs and I'll go into Magic Write and I'll say something like, give me 20 quotes, real estate related quotes, give me that. And then I can take that into Canva and I can create, different, like stories. You can add videos, drone footage of neighborhoods and things like that. And you can put that real estate related quote over that. So I'll use it that way. I'll go into Canva and I'll use, let's say I got a new listing and I had a professional photographer or videographer go out there and shoot the listing. Typically, if I have the photos only, I'll bring that into Canva and I'll bring that into Magic Studio, and it's kind of gives off like CapCut template or CapCut template vibes. But you can add a caption. It'll take the photos and it'll create like a really quick 30-second video or something like that for you inside a Canva, and it'll analyze the photos and it'll talk about like you'll give captions for each clip, like check out this gourmet kitchen, spacious masters or spacious owner suite or whatever you want to call it, do stuff like that. And so I use it that way. As far as like Opus Clip, I use Opus Clip. I do have the paid version of Opus Clip. With Opus, I'm not 100% satisfied with the quality, so that's my problem. Is I try to automate that ordinary, and then I end up being like, well, it's not extraordinary enough for me. So what I do with Opus is I have content that sometimes is an hour long, typically podcast episodes. I'll throw it in Opus. It'll usually spit out, a good 25 clips or more. I try to make the clips a little bit longer than what I need. So let's just say I'm going to post on Reels and I want them to be under a minute. I'll usually let Opus create 90-second clips, and then I go in and I shave off the parts of the clip that I don't like. And so I have it pick. The reason why I'm using it is just so it can pick like, that clip that's going to be, most viral, because it gives you that virality score. And so that way I don't have to go through my whole episode and decide what I think is going to go viral. So I let Opus decide. And then I usually create that clip longer than I need. And then I still go in and edit it down a little bit the way that I want it. As far as ChatGPT and custom GPTs, I have a custom GPT right now that's set up to create videos in the format that I want. And so my videos, I want them to be like starting out with a problem or a hook, and then I want it to go into like, the solution for that hook, and then we basically end with like a call to action. So it kind of starts with like an introduction. It's like, this is the problem that we're having, and then this is the way that you solve that, and then it ends with like a call to action basically. So I have a custom GPT that's set up to give me the videos in the format that I want, and that way I can just kind of tweak the final product that it gives me a little bit to make sense in my market with, my own personality or whatever. And then I can just create, sometimes batch record 6 or 8 at a time. I use RPR. I use their script writer to do market updates. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
And
we did an
so,
episode earlier, like weeks ago, that we talked about that, and it's in our playbook as well. So it's a great tool. Go ahead, talk
yeah,
about that.
no, so it's like you can go in and you can say like, hey, you can put in like any city, and it's going to spit out like the statistics for that city, and then you can go in and you can have it write you a script, and then once it writes you a script, you can go in and you can say, okay, I want this to be, for buyers, or I want this to be for sellers. I want it to be for buyers and sellers or whatever, and it's going to create a script, and you can just click email it to you, and then you can throw it into your teleprompter software, and you can make videos like that. So with the combination of what I do with Canva, what I do inside ChatGPT, and what I do inside RPR, you can create content, 30 days of content batch recorded in like a day.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, think about when you mentioned Canva, and I think we're starting to see AI. You can go to AI like a ChatGPT and all these large language models, but we're also seeing AI embedded in the tools you're already using, like Canva's upgraded. We're soon going to have the phones with Apple Intelligence if it's an iPhone. Google just launched something that is, AI. So AI is coming a lot closer to the technology we were using, whether it's a CRM, all of those things. So getting more comfortable. Like you mentioned custom GPTs, and I don't want the audience to not know what they are. So let's kind of maybe just define them. So you can really build custom GPTs if you have a paid Chat GPT account, but you can use any custom GPTs that are public with free Chat GPT accounts. And there's 3 million of them. We've done some at the Real Estate AI Flash level that you can look up my name, and we'll put in the show notes as well. But start playing around with it. It's really a custom use of Chat GPT for a specific use case. Like in Cory's case, you're building video scripts for a certain type of style. Talk to us a little bit about the coaching one too, because realtors could use coaching as well. I mean, that thinking about how to.
Well, yeah, so I started out with the coaching one because I was using the voice app a lot. So I'd just be in my car if I'm driving 30 minutes or something like that to do a showing. I would just bring up the voice app and start having a conversation with it. And then when GPT 4.0 came out, I was shocked because I do a training every Wednesday. I call it Winter Wednesdays, and it's at a specific time every single Wednesday. And then I do a Tuesday sales meeting, and that runs for an hour and a half every Tuesday. And I was asking ChatGPT to basically like create me a weekly schedule, and I was just like, I let it know like how many transactions I wanted to do in the next X amount of days, and I wanted it to use like current conversion rates and tell me exactly like what actions I needed to take and how many of, let's say it said like you need to contact X amount of people, and be like, okay, use the conversion rates to be like, okay, if I need to contact 50, like how many do I actually need to call? So I was asking it these questions, and I said, give me a weekly to-do list. And so it said, it started getting into it, and it was like Monday, do this, that, or whatever. And it was like Tuesday, do this. And it got to Wednesday, and it cut out a spot for Winter Wednesday. And I was shocked. I was like, how did it know that I have that training every Wednesday? And then I realized that a couple weeks prior, I had asked for some training topics for my training called Winter Wednesday. And that's when it dawned on me, because I'm not as like in tune with what's going on with OpenAI, that it now has memory and it knows exactly who I am. and it knows like that I'm a real estate broker. It knows what company I work for. It knows when I have my specific meetings because I already said, hey, I have this training called Winter Wednesday. I need some training topic ideas for this thing. And so then I was like, what if I created a custom GPT to do this, and it already knows everything about me. It already knows where all I have to say, like at the beginning of the year, is like, "Hey, create me a custom business plan. I want to try to do 45 transactions this year," and it's already going to know like the conversion rates, what I specifically have to do. It's going to know what my schedule is, and it's going to spit out an answer that's it's going to be broad. It's going to be a business plan, but then I can go back to it every month, and I can ask for monthly goals. I can ask for weekly goals and daily success lists, and it already kind of has all the information built into it. So that's how I got into that.
That's awesome. I think one of the things that I feel people initially start with ChatGPT is like my assistant to do the tasks that I hate to do, or I don't like to do, or take me longer. But I think we shortchanged AI tools if you think of it as an assistant versus also a mentor, a strategist for ideation, which is where you are. Like, I mean, you've kind of built that ideation stuff. So that's cool. So one of the areas that I wanted to kind of dig in a little bit before we sort of wind down the podcast is the affordable leverage comment, right? Like AI tools are still very cheap. Yeah, you got to try, buy into it, test it, buy out of it based on usage, etc. You know, so what tools does Cory subscribe to today that, and what kind of time/money that has saved you? Ballpark it for me if you can.
Okay. So I subscribe to some of the tools I subscribe to that I use, but I don't use them every time. So I subscribe to Autopod. I don't know if you heard of that one. It edits your podcast for you. I don't often use it, but sometimes if I'm in a pinch, I do use it. Probably $30 a month. But if you think about what it takes to edit a podcast, if you hire
Yeah.
somebody on Fiverr, you're probably paying, I don't know what your editor's paying, but in the past I've paid editors a couple $100 for videos like that are an hour long.
Yeah.
So I use that one. I use Opus Clip, and again, I don't always use it. Sometimes I'll use it just to get that virality score, and then I'll go in and I'll create the clip myself. I just want to see what the AI thinks is going to go viral, and so I use that one. I have Canva Pro. I have CapCut Pro. I have Captions Pro. Yeah, whatever, like the paid
Captions
version
AI,
of
yeah.
Captions. I use ChatGPT. Is it called Pro?
ChatGPT Plus, yeah.
ChatGPT Plus. So I think the day it came out, I purchased ChatGPT Plus just because I wanted to be the guy that has access to that.
Yeah.
Just trying to think if I have any other
So,
ones.
if I start to add that up, it's still around $100 a month.
Probably
You,
is. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not
I
insane
mean,
or anything
and
like
most
that.
agents don't need to do all of those things, but if
Mhm.
you look at ChatGPT Plus to build your own custom GPTs, which is really, if you have an operating procedure for anything you do in your business, build a GPT for it. Like, and I've had 6 or 7 GPTs privately that I use regularly. So whatever your work, like if you have buyers, there's maybe a buyer GPT. Here's all the things I do with buyers. Sellers, lead generation, customer service, email marketing, YouTube, if you're into video. So, and then I also do Perplexity. I don't know if you've used Perplexity,
Yeah, I
Corey.
actually do have Perplexity account.
That's
and
my go-to daily. It's replaced Google, man. I stopped using Google.
So what's funny about it is I actually listened to this podcast, and that's what actually put me on the Perplexity. And so I did download it instantly, and I did create an account. I don't have the paid account. I've monkeyed around
You don't
with it
need
a
the
little
paid
bit.
account for most people because you
Yeah.
get 50 pro searches a day, which is more than enough.
hmm
But I'm doing some other stuff with publishing pages and things like that for
Yeah, the thing I
information.
like about it is I like that it gives you the sources.
Sources.
So because so often, ChatGPT, especially in the past versions of ChatGPT, would sound like it knew exactly what was going on, and then when you really fact check it, it's like, okay, it wasn't
Hallucinating,
actually
yeah.
accurate about it. So I like that it gives you the sources, and as far as like AI goes in general with small business or self-employed people, I think that there is an aspect, and it all goes back to exactly what you said about automating that ordinary and so that you can personalize the extraordinary. Is that a lot of people, especially with like videos and content creation, are looking for organic material. So what it does, it allows you to put out like a higher volume. And so I can create like a bunch of stuff using AI, and then I can sprinkle in like an organic video of myself just having a conversation with my phone while I'm cruising to my next showing about something that just happened, and it's super like underproduced. But people go, okay, well, Corey's a human. Like he doesn't always have the lights and the neon light behind him and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So what it does, it helps you with that volume and putting out more content and
Yeah, for sure. I
yeah.
mean, putting out more content, better content, personalizing the content, just so it saves you time to actually invest in building relationships and doing the things that you can do and build memorable relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, our business is human,
Hmm.
right? So try to automating all the back office tasks. So, I mean, I think it appears that you are soon to becoming a power user of AI, Corey, and we're all
I'm
learning. I
trying to
mean,
be. I was
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
create a
we're all
custom.
trying.
I was
So
trying to create a custom GPT that could mimic exactly how I write, and it was asking me questions when I was creating it, like, "Hey, can you give me some sample emails that you've written?" And I was thinking, "Well, I got to go back to before I started using Chat GPT. Then,
that's
you know what I
right.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah, for
try to get
sure.
it to sound a little bit more like me."
Yeah. So as this has been very helpful. I think people that are listening to the show can kind of everybody starts their journey with AI is, I mean, start with ChatGPT and then expand your scope. I think all of us need to have our own, I call it aha moments with AI, like you did in like November 2022, whenever it came out. And some people are just sort of afraid of it. But my position is try it, use it responsibly. It's not going to help you with everything. But I predict that in the next 3 to 5 years, AI is most tasks will be at least 80% of tasks will be AI assisted. You know, it's still
Yeah,
that 20% is human. So let's get to the questions, Corey, that I'd love to kind of pick your see how you reflect on your past a little bit. You've been
yeah,
on 17 years, right,
yep,
in real
yep,
estate.
yep.
So if you were to start in real estate today, knowing what you know, what would you advise your younger self that would benefit agents listening to someone that has 17 years experience?
I would say to nothing else matters if you're not prospecting, right? And so, and again, AI is one of those things that helps you get the other stuff off your plate so that you can prospect. And so, that 1 to 2 hours of prospecting is really like that's you going to work for the day. And you can sit there and try to create logos and send as many emails as you want and create as many videos as you want and stuff like that and do all that passive stuff, but it's not going to really generate business unless you're willing to do the active prospecting activities. And I think a lot of people get tied up early on with like, well, I would do that, but I have to sit here and get ready first before I make that first phone call.
How long did it take you to realize, man, I got to do the 1 to 2 hours is non-negotiable? Like when you were going in your journey, because you're looking back, that's the benefit. People listening to you can say, "Oh, I need to do that." How long did it take you to get there?
Well, I was a part-time agent from 2007 to 2011. And so when you realize like you have to, you have to sell real estate in order to feed your family, I think you really start kind of cutting out the fluff and narrowing down to what you need to do. So probably for me, it probably took me 4 or 5 years because I was having transactions every year just from like the typical, like I post some stuff on social or I talk to my family member who talked to a family member. You still have your referrals and things like that. So it probably took me 4 or 5 years to really dial in and just say, I really need to go out there and get some business. That's the way that this works. Because it's so common that people get in the business and they think that their phone's just going to ring, and that's not typically how it ever works.
Yeah, for sure. So the next question is, what is the one book? Are you a big book reader? Are you a big reader?
I'm a big listener, but I did go through my big reading phase when I was doing 75 hard. I don't know if you heard of that. You got to read
Oh,
10
wow.
pages
Okay.
of a book
All
every
right. So this
single
is a good
day.
question for you then. So
Yeah.
what is if you had to recommend me one book that has really impacted your business the most, what book would that be?
Wow, this is difficult because I do have a handful of them in mind, but if I had to choose one, it would probably be Atomic Habits.
Atomic
It'd
Habits.
probably be
James Clear,
Atomic
man.
Habits, which I think a
Yeah,
lot of people like that. Now, I started out with The One Thing, and I really like that book. I probably read it cover to cover 10 times,
I
and
have
I
it.
always
Yeah.
quote it. I love The One Thing, and it's kind of very similar to Atomic Habits, except for Atomic Habits goes in deeper. There's another one called The Slight Edge.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to think of the author, and that is basically the original Atomic Habits. Very, very similar concepts, but Atomic Habits for me would probably be my number one. Second
Nice.
one would probably be, if I was going to eliminate those three that are kind of have that same theme, would be the 5 second rule, the Mel Robbins 5 second rule, because it's about procrastination. And as an agent, it's so easy to procrastinate because you have to figure out how to pull yourself up out of bed and do all the work, and you have to kind of create a 9 to 5 schedule where you're actually doing stuff rather than scrolling Instagram or watching YouTube videos or whatever. It's easy
Yeah,
to get
yeah, for sure.
sidetracked.
All right. Finally, obviously it's an AI podcast. Where do you see AI going, man? I mean, the speed at which it's changing is like crazy. Nobody can keep up with it. So where do you see in the next 3 to 5 years? I mean, you're going to be in the business thriving. So where do you see AI go?
That's a good question, man. It's almost like you mentioned earlier. Like we all think linear, and it's exponentially growing. And I don't think any one of us thought that it was going to be where it's at right now. When it first came out, no one had ever heard of it. Everyone was just blown away that I could have it write a rap song in the format of
Yeah.
Tupac about Edina Realty or whatever, and it would do it. You know what I mean? So, um, for one, for sure, with the AI staging and all that stuff, we already know that, right now, like I hire a guy to do the or to do the virtual staging. We all know that most of that stuff is probably going to be done by AI and is going to be very low cost. In terms of, um, I don't want to say, but I mean, there's a chance that some of the stuff that we do as agents gets automated, like just across the board. We start seeing more templates, more wizards, I should say, for filling out certain paperworks and stuff like that. Of course, it's going to take a human to review that paperwork, but I could see some of that stuff getting more automated and easier to use. Um, it's kind of weird because real estate's a different kind of a beast in terms of like generative AI. Like you have to be truthful on the internet about the property, right? So I get a little bit nervous with some of this generative AI that what we see on the internet's not going to be what we get when we get to the property to show it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've seen like some of these rental companies have these big giant lock boxes that go on these doors for consumers to go look at rental properties and stuff like that. I could see maybe potentially there being a new way of opening doors, kind of like how Open Door did for a while there with apps and things like that. I could see that being a thing. I don't know if that's really considered AI, but technology.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, though, I mean, it's only been 18 months and it feels like a decade in
It feels
normal
like it feels
technology.
like a decade, and I don't even know. Like I see all the time on Facebook where like I'll see this very realistic video or picture, and I'm like, how did that happen or something? And then I go to the comments, and everyone's like, "This is AI. This is AI. No way, this is real." And I'm like, "It probably is AI. I don't know how that fooled me." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we're going into a world. Personally, I'm fascinated by all the things that generative AI can help us do, but I'm also concerned about. I think you need to do more to earn trust
Yeah, like what's
online.
real?
Yeah, what's real, what's not, kind of thing. But that's where you have to use it responsibly. You put your human eye on it and make sure it's your voice, all that, before you just kind of lift and copy and post. Because I think you'll recognize posts on social media now. They're AI. I mean,
You
you
know
just
they're
look at
AI.
them, right?
Sometimes it'll people will leave the quotations on the captions so you know it's AI because they
Yeah,
forgot to take the
exactly,
quotations
exactly.
out. You also
Yeah.
have like like if you you'll have people like I get emails all the time where I'm addressed as dear because it's probably from a non-English speaking person that
Yeah,
used AI and they're
yeah.
usually be like dear so and so and they don't realize it says copy and paste. It's just like hi dear,
There
I'd
you
like
go.
to do this for you. You know what I mean? Like I'd like
Yeah,
to
for
edit your
sure.
videos for you.
Yeah.
And so
All right, this has been fun, Cory. Appreciate you jumping on. And now, for all the listeners, if you need to reach out to Cory, we'll put a link to his social handles in the show notes. And if you don't know yet, we do have a weekly newsletter. Make sure you go to realestateaiflash.com, sign up for the weekly newsletter that comes to you every Tuesday. And also, we're working on an AI Academy. That's an online certification for real estate agents that's coming this fall. Our goal is by the end of the year, so sign up. That's also at realestateaiflash.com, so you'll be the first to know. So join the waitlist. Cory, it's been fun. Looking forward to catching up soon, bud.
I appreciate you having me on. And also be sure to check out Real Estate Agent Development. It's a YouTube channel. We're also a podcast. We're just under 19,000 subscribers right now and growing. So I'd appreciate that.